Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom. I'm board certified in addiction medicine and in family medicine, and I practice in East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia now for over 30 years. I'm also a person in long-term recovery from polysubstance use and opiate use disorder, and I have over 21 years in the program. So today we're going to talk about benzos, benzodiazepines. Lots of varieties, lots of kinds. Are they any good? Benzos were first invented in 1960. The original, I believe, was called chlordiazepoxide, but very soon many others came after. Diazepam, the famous mother's little helper from the Rolling Stones, and then every other PAM drug that has come in its wake. That's what it's called in Mexico, by the way, is PAM. So benzodiazepines have been substances of abuse for some time. They have very little use in regular medical care or psychiatry, and they're highly addictive. People get heavily addicted to benzos. Nationwide, the estimated dependence rate on benzos is between 10 and 15% of those who are addicted to opiates. In Southwest Virginia and East Tennessee, it's much higher. We're looking at 30%. So 30% of the patients that walk through the door are addicted to benzodiazepines, and they're often taking them in very high doses. If we go back to the mid-90s, this was really common that patients would receive prescriptions for opiates plus alprazolam or Xanax. So there's all different trade names, all different brand names, but all of them are PAM drugs. And unfortunately, the best way to get somebody off of a benzodiazepine is with a benzodiazepine. You take a short-acting benzodiazepine like Xanax and you replace it with a long-acting benzo like Klonopin, and then you can taper slowly and get the patient off the drug. The reason that Xanax is so powerfully addicting is because it has such a short half-life, meaning you take it and 2 hours later, half of it's gone. Then you got to take more, and a couple hours later, more of it's gone, and you got to take more, so you take it over and over and over. A long-acting benzo like Klonopin has a half-life of 19 hours, so you take it, and it has a much slower drop-off. So you can take it more frequent or less frequently, twice a day, and you get the same effect. Now, what do benzodiazepines do? Let's go back to our discussion of brain. You know how much I like talking about the brain. And fundamentally in the brain, between your ears, you've got 150 billion neurons, brain cells, and all of those neurons talk to each other in a giant interconnected web and net, a neural network. They talk to each other through synapses. The synapses are where the two neurons connect. They talk to each other with neurochemicals, neuropeptides, neurotransmitters. There's over 1,000 identified neurotransmitters. We know a little bit about some of them: epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, endorphin. You've heard of these. But imagine there's another 999 that we don't know anything about. We haven't really studied. So in a neuron, the neuron will send the chemical from one side to the other, which then sends a signal down the pathway. So you have this network in your brain where all the neurons are talking to each other in the synapses. That's the synapses, the connection between the two neurons. Now remember that each neuron is actually connected to 7 other neurons, which makes over 1 trillion synapses in a human brain. So one neuron with one axon and one dendrite have connections coming in from multiple other angles and multiple other neurons telling it what to do and how to act. So, oversimplified, understanding that nobody knows what's going on inside a human brain, we do know that some neurons slow down the brain. They are the control neurons. They calm it down. It's the glutamate system, the glutaminergic system, the GABA system you'll hear about. That's where benzodiazepines work. So you have these neurons that send out a chemical that slows down the firing of the other neurons. Well, that's great. You got somebody super anxious in a panic attack and you give them a benzodiazepine, it calms them down. If you take a benzo, a Xanax, it calms you down. It's not the greatest feeling in the world, but it definitely slows down your thinking and slows down your brain. So people do get hooked on benzos. And in general, the most important thing to remember about benzos is that benzos suck. They're horrible. It's an awful drug. People on benzos don't really want to be on them, but they don't want to come off of them because they don't want to go through benzo withdrawal. Now, people come and, they have to have their Klonopin, they have to have their benzo, and they come in and they're all, oh, Dr. Reach, I'm so sorry. I took a Xanax. I was nervous. I was anxious. I didn't like the way I felt. I'm thinking to myself, if you'd smoked a joint, that would have made a little more sense. I was at a campfire. Somebody passed me a joint. I smoked some. Okay. I was at a rave and somebody gave me some ecstasy. I said, okay, I can understand how that could happen. Klonopin? You relapsed on Klonopin? Yeah, let's have a Klonopin party. We're all going to go take some Klonopin and have fun. Klonopin sucks. Horrible drug, right? And then on TV, they show somebody walking down the beach in the sunset picking up clams. Ask your doctor about Klonopin. Like it's something good. It's not good. It's a chemical. It's a chemical made in a chemical factory in Hoboken, New Jersey. Oh, no, I want the spick and span. Oh, I'm going to eat the hydrochloric acid. Oh, no, I'm going to eat the Klonopin because I don't like the way I feel. So getting people off of benzos is quite the trick. So you have this neural network. You have these benzos. You have this system, this glutaminergic system, this GABA system. And let's take green. And so when you're taking Klonopin or you're taking a benzo, let's use B, it comes and it fills up these receptors. It just fills them to the top. And your brain goes, oh, I've got plenty of benzos. And then those benzos send a signal back to the factory that's making the naturally occurring benzo saying, hey, guess what? We've got plenty of benzo. Quit making benzo. So your factories quit making GABA. They quit making the naturally occurring benzo. Well, pretty soon, you start shutting down the factories. It's like, we don't need these factories. Why would we need these benzo factories? We've got plenty of benzo. You're eating 8 milligrams of Xanax a day, right? And then if you all of a sudden stop benzos, you get thrown in jail. Done that a couple of times. That is not a good way to come off of benzos. Or you go on vacation planning on getting off of everything. And 3 days in, you're out of benzos. Your brain goes haywire. The brakes are gone. You start twitching and you start jerking and you can't sleep and you start to fall asleep and you wake up suddenly and you start to fall asleep and you wake up suddenly. It's a horrible withdrawal. And it doesn't just go on for a couple of days. You'll be twitching and jerking for 4 to 6 weeks, right? You know why it takes 4 to 6 weeks? Because that's the length of time it takes for your brain to figure out that it better start making more benzo factories. We need to make more. We need to start producing more GABA. We need to slow this brain down. So withdrawal can be extremely difficult. Tapering people off of benzos requires a skill set, and you have to have patience. So government regulations that restrict benzodiazepine use is really hindering the ability of physicians to get people off of benzos. And trust me, patients do not want to come down. You have to work with them. You have to encourage them. You have to discuss it. And if you go down in a very, very slow fashion that gives the brain time to make more factories and to make more of the naturally occurring substance that slows the brain down, then it is possible to completely taper people off of benzos. I've done it hundreds, if not thousands of times. So, that being said, if you're not on benzos, don't start. If you're a physician, you don't prescribe benzodiazepines to somebody with addictive disorders. That's like prescribing them shots of alcohol. It's not a good prescription for people who are addicted. And if they're already on it, you work to get them off of it, but you do it slowly and carefully. Like I told my doctors back in 2015, if somebody comes into the office and they have never been on benzos and they're a drug addict and you put them on benzos, you're committing malpractice. If somebody comes into your office and they're addicted to benzos and you don't give them benzos, you're committing malpractice. It's the responsibility of physicians who are trained as addiction specialists to work with patients where they are, to look at everything that they're taking and try to help them taper, control, reduce, with the objective and the goal maybe someday of total abstinence. Thanks for joining us. This is Dr. Tom. If you like this content, please hit like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, share, and check out the suggested videos if you would on the way out. Thanks again.